Alright, this one might end up with you all killing me, but before you spam mass dislike, it'd really be appreciated if you could just hear me out. Actually, it'd be even more appreciated if you could hit like, and also if you're new here, hit subscribe with post notifications turned on. I'm not gonna fuck around with a massive intro here, so without further ado, let's jump into my argument for why Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag is overrated, but it's still great. Alright, let me get this out of the way immediately. I love Black Flag. There's been a trend in recent years of seemingly the entire internet believing something needs to either be the best game ever or the worst, and that transfers over to the word overrated. I by no means think Black Flag's a bad game, however I think the fact that it's become so prevalently called the best Assassin's Creed game by articles and people alike has made the game overrated. I'm not sure why it is, maybe due to some nostalgia factor, due to the AC games in recent years being rough, but with how many people claim Black Flag to be the good Assassin's Creed game, I can't help but call it overrated. And by the way, to be clear, this isn't just a hot take for the sake of a hot take to try and get more views, but I'd understand if you think that, because there's plenty of that on this platform.
However, I still ask that you hear me out. Ezio is a Mary Sue. In this case, Gary Sue would be a more suitable term.
Excuse me, the fuck did you just say?
So I guess it's time to jump straight into the game, and I'm just going to start with far and away the worst element of the game, the gameplay. Yes, whilst that seems like a far too all-encompassing, vague statement, the entire makeup of Black Flag's gameplay seems to have been clouded in many people's mind by the one feature it has that's truly great. Of course, the most widespread distaste for its gameplay comes, rightfully so, with its absolutely abysmal mission design. I genuinely don't remember the last game I played that brought me close to the dread I felt as I tediously made my way through the first few sequences of the game, and that's mainly down to the abundance of tailing missions. Now don't get me wrong, there is nothing inherently wrong with tailing missions. In many a game, hell, many an Assassin's Creed game, they can be done right. Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood, hell even Syndicate to a certain extent, have some at least quality tailing missions. The problem with 4 though, isn't the tailing missions themselves, but the fact that the tailing missions so prevalent are genuinely abysmal. Usually having the most bare bones setup, with nearly no variety between them, the game has Edward constantly tail often unknown targets, and along with the complete lack of roadblocks in the way of any of these tails, the game would be significantly better with their complete removal. The thing is though, if you remove tailing missions from Black Flag, the game would be about half the length. The bane of any Assassin's Creed fan's existence, these missions also carry onto the water, with the player having to use their jackdaw to follow ships on multiple occasions, ships which just so happen to have no crow's nest to see behind them. Well, that must be the case, because somehow this massive pirate frigate isn't spotted under any circumstance, a feature which is not only boring, but also massively immersion breaking. But plenty of people have gone in on the excessive amount of tailing missions this game holds. What I haven't seen nearly as much criticism about though, is the rest of the subpar gameplay systems. Starting with stealth, Ubisoft's decision to port this game to the Wii U led to a system which is both far too easy and again immersion breaking, as the absolutely brainless AI become blind to anything that happens near a bush, and as well as that, they take about 5 minutes to detect you with the broken detection system they included. But then again, the game never actually provides you any incentive to play stealthily, and that's due to the potentially even more broken combat system. In this case, somehow Ubisoft downgraded from Assassin's Creed 3, a sentence I never thought I'd say. But Black Flag's combat system is essentially God Simulator 2013, and that's not a good thing, as Edward Kenway becomes Batman in every combat encounter. The system is in fact one of the many shitty rip-offs of the Arkham free flow combat, however it's a system that falls flat on its face. Firstly, the counter window given to the player is about 10 minutes long, and as well as that, if the player can get into a kill chain, they become unstoppable, as any enemy who attempts to break the kill chain can and will be put to death without even needing to be touched. The system is so animation based that there's no chance for any real challenge, as the flashy double sword animations can't be broken no matter how hard the player or their enemy tries. Essentially, this leads to any combat encounter being one long kill chain that requires zero thought or consideration. As well as that, the system also removes the Assassin's Creed staple of running away, an element present from the very first trailer, as none of the few enemy types ever give the impression of being menacing or challenging. And that finally brings us to the most memorable gameplay element of Black Flag, the ship combat. And like I said at the start of this video, I'm not just making hot takes for the sake of hot takes. Let me be clear, the naval gameplay in Black Flag was revolutionary at the time and still holds up as one of the best systems in all of gaming. It embraces the pirate fantasy perfectly, as well as providing a challenging yet rewarding system with plenty of variety. However, it's the other thing you can do with your ship that I find to be one of the more overrated elements of Black Flag: exploration. Now don't get me wrong, Black Flag's world is absolutely beautiful and still does hold up today, being arguably the best world in the series at the time. However, I feel the exploration of this world, although still great, has been overrated. Whilst there are a bunch of interesting activities like deep sea diving, whaling, or fighting ships, the vast majority of exploration, if you want to complete the game, consists of the same checklist activities so heavily criticized in games like Origins. When you reach a new location, a list will appear on your HUD, and after you synchronize the viewpoint, you get the joy of going to hunt countless chests, animus glyphs, manuscripts, and shanties, as well as doing the uninspired assassination contracts. After you complete each location, there is next to no reason to ever return, with little in the way of random events or unique moments. The movement system used to explore is as well absolutely broken, with next to no player control being involved and Edward jankily running from place to place, as the parkour is the worst in the series outside of Origins and Odyssey. Occasionally it provides funny moments of clunkiness, but all too often it completely ruins the pace and momentum of an intense set piece, or it simply breaks the immersion of the player. Whilst yes, the exploration is better than Origins, I still can't help but think people completely ignore the rampant checklists of repetitive side activities, despite them making up most of the time you need to spend completing the game 100%. But I think in many ways, the reason this game's become significantly overrated is due to the quality naval gameplay overshadowing so much of the rough and at times shit gameplay when Edward's on land. The naval gameplay, to give it even more credit, is very memorable, and that also carries over to by far the best part of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, which is of course the story of Edward Kenway. Some people over the years have tried to criticize this game by claiming that it's a great pirate story and a terrible Assassin's Creed story, and let me just get this out of the way immediately, that's complete horseshit. Although yes, Edward isn't technically an assassin until the last few sequences of the game, that by no means makes it a bad Assassin's Creed story. I mean, despite not being an assassin, Edward still hunts down and kills Templars in the early sections of the game. Why would he? A man that actively is remiss towards the assassins. Well, it's because of how perfectly philosophy is utilized within the story. The philosophies of the assassins and the pirates are similar ones: gaining a free world, true freedom, freedom from oppression and tyranny, the right to live with true free will. The philosophies of the two groups are well interweaved throughout the entire game, but it's their motives, their means, that differ so greatly. Edward and his group of Nassau brethren are hell-bent on gaining said freedom through domination, gaining riches and stature, the near antithesis of what the assassins preach, and this is shown through Edward's misinterpretation of the creed at the start of the game.
Nothing is true. Everything is permitted. This is the world's only certainty.
Everything is permitted. I like the sound of that. Thinking what I like and acting how I please.
But as time goes on, we witness the fantastic group of supporting characters around Edward fall to their doom, whether it be the beautiful death of Ed Thatch, the insanity of Charles Vane, the betrayal of Ben Hornigold, or the tragic death of Mary Read. It's the last there that sends Edward over the edge, falling into a drunken stupor, seeing visions of the friends he's lost, seeing his wife Caroline, who he's not seen in so long, seeing the path his current life is taking him down. Through the words of the assassins you encounter in the Templar Keys missions, the advice from Mary and Adewale, as well as the sheer amount of tragedy Edward witnesses, he realizes that the way to freedom isn't the way he's currently on. Although some feel it takes far too long for him to become an assassin, it makes complete sense that a man so overcome by greed, so set in his ways, would take years of reflection and disaster to truly see what he needs to do, how he needs to change. The final two sequences, although having some minor pacing issues, are by far the best, as we hunt down each of the Templars we've come across, and whilst yes, the Templars in this game are the most forgettable and uninteresting of the series, it's made up for by the brilliant cast of characters that act as allies to Edward. And then, of course, we get one of the most beautiful endings in gaming, a moment that almost matches up to the Revelations ending, a moment which, actually, you know what, I'm not even going to talk about it, I'm just going to show you.
You're a good man, Edward. And if you learn to keep settled in one place for more than a week, you'll make a fine father too. Of all the money that e'er I had, I spent it in good company, and all the harm that e'er I've done, alas, it was to none but me. And all I've done for want of wit to memory now I can't. So felt me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all.
Absolutely perfect. Like I said throughout the entire video, like the title and the thumbnail say, Black Flag is a great game. It's got a magnificent story and made great changes to the formula of Assassin's Creed, but I think it's time people stop simply ignoring its flaws, because it has far too many to be swept under the rug. Fundamentally, most of the core gameplay mechanics and features are either bad or just kind of okay, and I don't think that's good enough to be placed above or on par with the Ezio trilogy. The gap between the Ezio games and the rest of the series is massive, and you can call me an Ezio dick rider all you like, but when a game's gameplay is so fundamentally broken or average, I don't see how anyone can call it a masterpiece or the best game in a franchise. It is great, and I have thousands of memories of sailing the West Indies, and sure, it may still be the best pirate game to have ever existed, but whilst it is good, great, amazing, it is, in my opinion, massively overrated. But like I said, that's my opinion. So make sure to let me know yours down in the comments below. I do read every single comment, so tell me what you think. Tell me how much you hate me because, you know, I have a differing opinion. Also, if you did enjoy the video, it'd really be appreciated if you could hit like, and if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and turn post notifications on because YouTube doesn't like showing my videos very much. With that all being said, I've been Joe, aka Scarab, and I'll see you in the next one.